Hi, happy Thursday. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I am here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time where we can relax and craft for about an hour and work on a project. And I am currently working on the quilt label for my Splendid Sampler quilt. Here it is. I'm used the scrap that we cut off from the back of the quilt, and I am writing, it's in reverse here, but I'll show you it. I'm writing the date, my name, location, and I'm stitching the web address of my YouTube channel and then the project in the YouTube channel where kind of the diary of this project lives. So it's kind of goofy. I've never stitched a website before. It's just silly and fun. So I'm having a good time. And when we get this done, we will attach it to the quilt. So we probably won't do that this week. But one of these Finish It Fridays, it will pop up again. So that will be the plan. So, all right, guys, thanks again for joining me. I'm going to flip you around and we'll just start stitching. Let's try and get this whole web address done today. Oh, thanks, Lucy. I think it was just a silly idea. This long scrap of fabric was sitting around still from the back of my Splendid Sampler quilt, and I thought, you know what, it would be kind of fun to stitch, instead of stitching a label like on a square, like how you usually think of a label doing it. I'm like, why not have a really long label? That'd be kind of silly. So that's what we're doing here. Let's get it in the hoop. I already wrote the web address on with this sew line. Get in focus there. This sew line pencil. It's got white chalk in it. It's kind of fun. But yeah, so that's doing the job of being able to transfer my design. Well, not even transfer. I just wrote directly onto the fabric here. Ooh, wow, it's hard to see there already. I think it's just hard to see more just from the light more than anything. I think I can see the design. All right. Yep, YouTube is on there. So let's just start for the evening. I don't think so, Gretchen. So I just did HTTP and not HTTPS. I thought, I don't know, we're just going to keep going. There's maybe enough room for an S in there, but this will still get you there for now. I suppose one day if they change it so you can't type HTTP in at all, it all has to be an S, then, and it doesn't redirect anymore, then maybe I'll go back and add this. I don't know. It's just kind of silly, the whole thing. Oh, thanks, Glennis. I appreciate that. I just like trying stuff, and a lot of the thing with this quilt, my original Splendid Sampler quilt, at least with the back, that was the kind of the first time I did the back from all the fabric I had left over, and that's exactly what I did for the back of my Charming Chevrons quilt too. And I'm really loving that idea of just using up every scrap in the back of the quilt. So this scrap was laying around and thought I'd just kind of continue that whole process. Kind of like that it's two different fabrics here that have been sewn together. There's actually a lot of seams that have been sewn together on this. This was just like the trimming, you know, from just the back fabric of the quilt, just trimming it before before putting the binding on. I might have to go over some of these letters again. We'll see. It is just chalk, so you know, any like flick of the fabric and it's coming off. The Splendid Sampler starts on Thursday next week, so like 7 days from now, which is crazy, right? So that's starting up already. It's only going to be once, they're only releasing 1 block a week this time, so that's a little different. Last time it was 2 times a week. So this time around it'll only be released just once on Thursday. So that will hopefully take a little bit of the pressure off of having to do 2 blocks in a week. And, you know, a lot of these blocks potentially are going to be intricate. Maybe not all. Who knows? We'll see. And, yeah, so we will be working on them live here again. And I'm going to be working on them on Thursdays when it's released, Thursdays and then Fridays. And then I think Monday through Wednesday we will work on our other projects. Maybe every once in a while we'll work a little bit on a Splendid Sampler block during that time. But I'm going to try and keep it to that Thursday and Friday. And maybe, you know, every once in a while we'll have like a makeup day or something if we start falling too far behind. But for sure, we'll start every new block on the Thursday. So if we get the new block and you're wondering how to get going on it, we will be doing that Thursday. So we won't just continue whatever block we're on. We'll start the new block. So I'm gonna have I'm gonna get a binder together, and that will store my blocks and like the fabric that I'm using. Kind of like how I did last time. So you know what, maybe I'll gather a bunch of that stuff this weekend and I'll just kind of show you guys how I'm preparing for it. You bought one of those too, like a big binder. I actually had, I think for the Splendid Sampler one, I think I ended up with 2 3-inch binders to hold everything. Just because, you know, there is a thickness to the blocks, so those binders fill up pretty quick. But yeah, I think I might have a couple of those binders hiding out here at the house. Otherwise, maybe I'll go run to Office Depot this weekend or something. We will see. I don't think I have enough thread to finish this E. We're going to give it a try. It's weird stitching the word YouTube. It's just so odd. But it's kind of fun. Yeah, we'll see how the weekend goes, but I am planning on putting a couple little videos together for just to prepare for the Splendid Sampler. Like if you guys are still want to participate and use fabric you have. There's plenty time to order fabric. This project will take a while, so you can always start with what you have and order around that too. If you don't want to if you don't want it to be with stuff that you already have, if you want to purchase fabric for it. All right, I think I will weave in the end here. Just enough thread to do that, I think. Blah, blah, blah. I was watching that more today. So Bob Loblaw from Arrested Development. So I had to look up the Loblaw convenience store or grocery chain. I'm not quite sure it was. I think it was just kind of like a convenience store. I had to look that up. So it is. It's like a huge chain in Canada, the Loblaws. I just think that's funny. That's just Bob Loblaw. That's just such a funny name. Oh, you're not planning on doing the Splendid Sampler 2? Oh, 2 knitting projects and with baby quilts. Oh man, yeah, that's plenty of stuff. There's always projects, but yeah, you know, that's the thing. Since the Splendid Sampler is over a period of time, you can always pick it up. And you know, the first 20 blocks they're going to be releasing before the book comes out. And the book is on, the Splendid Sampler 2 book is on pre-order right now on Amazon. And I threw a link to that in here in this post. So it's on pre-order. And so they're releasing 20 blocks from the book before the book comes out. And then after the book comes out, after those first 20 blocks, then we're going from the book. So after that point, you need the book. But if you just want to do like the 20, then those are available without getting the book. So you can have like a little test of the if you want to keep going with it and stuff beforehand. Loblaws is the name. Yep, in Canada. As you know, Patricia. Yeah, it was just so funny when you guys were talking about, oh yeah, it's a chain in Canada. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. So I had to look it up. It's like a really big company. It looks like. I think I just Googled it and it went to the company page, so it shows like all their other brands that they have too. Oh, the Splendid Sampler 1, you pretty much kept up with the 2 weeks, which was a commitment. The 2 a week. Yeah. So it for sure was a commitment. And that's all we worked on during our evenings here. And I want to be working on our other projects that we were talking about yet too. So that's why I'll probably only be doing it 2 times a week. But yeah, so it'll be a little less of a commitment just because, well, it's still a big commitment, but it is only one released a week, which is good because, yeah, it was a lot, the 2. Gina, that I have to look it up again just to make sure, but I'm guessing that, yes, they'll be 6 inches again. So you make them to be 6.5 inches so that when they're in the quilt, they'll be 6 inches. 6 inches big. I'm assuming that's the same. It probably says on the website on the splendidsampler.com, but I'm guessing it's the same. So then you can probably interlocked them with your Splendid Sampler 1 if you wanted to. The neat thing is when you get the book, you'll be able to, if you didn't want to do the whole quilt, then you can kind of mix and match the blocks however you want to do it. Like if you want to just do all the embroidered blocks or all the applique blocks or all the blocks that have, like, I don't know, birds on or something, who knows. But yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people did too. They just kind of selectively did blocks and, you know, made them into bags and a bunch of other things too. Oh, that sounds cute, Christian. Oh, the Moda blockheads too started on Wednesday. Yeah, so many projects, right? So many projects to choose from. I just know, like, I'm excited to do the Splendid Sampler again, just because I learned so much the first time around. I'm kind of excited to put that into practice this time around. All the new skills. And then hopefully I'll be able to free motion quilt it too. Potentially, assuming I've learned a little from the Charming Chevrons quilt by then. I don't know, we'll see. I'm hoping to kind of put together a project plan tomorrow, so hopefully I'll get an email out soon of kind of the next projects on the docket here. If there's any you want to join in, I definitely want to do some embroidery. Will you make the Splendid Sampler 2 as big as the first one? Well, it's almost certain to be biggish, just because there are going to be like 100 blocks. So you're almost guaranteed like it's going to be at least 60 inches by 60 inches at minimum. If you do it all the blocks in one quilt, and no borders, then that's how big it would be. So that's, you know, add a border to that, like a big border, and you're in queen size territory, which is what I did with my last one. Gosh, you know, yeah, that's the thing. I barely ever know what to do with my projects when I'm done. I just, like, you know, I'm always doing these projects to learn a new technique, or to test out a theory, or something like that, you know what I mean? And so I don't know what I'm gonna do with another quilt. You can make whatever size you want by choosing, yeah, however many you want per quilt. That's true. I can make more than one and do some smaller ones. I don't know. I guess that's the nice thing about the Splendid Sampler, is I don't have to choose right away. I can just make the blocks and see what happens. Decide later, maybe. I'll probably put it together in a quilt. Never know when you need an extra quilt hanging around, right? Who knows? Gotta do something with it, though. I don't want to keep them as just blocks. Oh, that's Pam. That's awesome. Pam says I wasn't going to do the second one, the second Splendid Sampler, because of the huge commitment. But when I found out you were going to do it again, you couldn't stand not to be part of it. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for it. I was unsure too, because, to be honest, because of the huge commitment as well. When will you fit in the granny quilt? You've been waiting for that one to start. I know, it's I'm doing the Charming Chevrons quilt. We'll get that done, and man, that's now that we're done sewing it, it seems to be going quicker than I thought for the quilting. So we'll do the Charming Chevrons quilt, and then I wanted to do like another little project, a little embroidery plus that sketchbook project, and then I do want to start that granny square quilt. So we'll probably be doing the granny square quilt in conjunction with the Splendid Sampler too. So I'm going to try, we'll see how it goes, but I'm going to try and do the Splendid Sampler 2 just on Thursdays and Fridays. So we'll have the other 3 days of the week to do the granny square quilt. So I will, like I said, I'll get an email out of kind of next projects, and kind of, you know, I can only kind of guess when they'll start just based on when we get the prior projects done. but I'll post a picture of that, of the granny square quilt again. It's quilting. It's not actually crocheted or anything, but it kind of mimics those. It's got like the essence of those crocheted granny square Afghans, but it's a quilt. It's just basically, it looks like a bunch of just pretty squares, just placed in a nice way that kind of mimics a granny square crocheted deal. So yeah, I do want to do that. I think she might be Wanda. Wanda's asking if my mom is going to do the Splendid Sampler, the second one. She was debating it too. I think everyone's kind of been debating it, right? Because it's daunting, right? It's a lot of blocks, and it's a long period of time, but I don't know, it ends up being so rewarding, and for me at least, I learned a ton doing it, so that's kind of what's keeping me doing it. So I think she is. She wasn't sure at first, but today she told me she pre-ordered it and is trying to think of what fabric to use, so I'm thinking that's a yes. Are they hexies, the granny square quilt, Cheryl? No, they're not hexies. So the granny square quilt is a fully pieced quilt. It's not, there's no applique, there's no hexies. It'll be kind of a lot like what we're doing with the Charming Chevrons quilt now. Just a simple block, or presumably simple block. It looks like a simple block. Simple block, and then you do a bunch of those blocks and then sew them together. In the end. So very similar to this Charming Chevrons quilt that we're doing. My guess is a beginner quilter would be able to do this quilt, but to do the granny square quilt, I haven't purchased the pattern yet, and I'll put links to that and everything too. So I'll get the pattern soon here, and then I'll be able to tell you guys a little bit more. The level of it, and since it's been a while, I gotta contact the designer and everything again, just to be like, hey, you said we could work on this, and I know it's been a while. Takes a while to do the quilt. Yes, we will be using a specific pattern for Pam if you're talking about the granny square quilt. And I'll link to that again. It's in an older email if you're on my email list, but I will email it. I'll email it again when I put together the next kind of, or the like coming up projects. So yeah, so just make sure you're on my email list. But yeah, it's a pattern. Okay, let's see. We're almost out of this thread too. Penguin. I think we'll just get through this web address today. I weeded the garden a little bit today. I think I kind of zonked out late this afternoon. I gotta still like make some food and everything yet this evening, but man, I think it was just because I was outside just a tiny little bit, weeding the garden a little bit. You have so many projects started, should not start another one. I know, right? Well, you know, so with what I'm liking is just this dedicated time of an hour in the evening. Like, this is the only way I'm doing any crafting, period, is by doing it with you guys here. So I'm totally banking on the idea of consistency. I'm actually banking on that with like a lot of things in life. I'm just trying to, that was if you guys remember, like I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, that was kind of my word of the year is consistency, just as a good reminder to just like keep going. And you know, if I wanted to quit on something after, you know, a week or so, then I would just remind myself, nope, consistency is the word of the year, you know? And I would just, that would be like enough to like keep me going at something. And now, after doing that, like now, like 2 or 3 years later, that's still like so on the front of my mind because I mean, really, just this consistency has gotten so much done. And, you know, I keep saying, like, with just the Finish It Fridays, the 1 hour a month, like, which is nothing, that's propelled projects along. So I didn't necessarily get a ton done during that, but the project got out from, you know, in hiding wherever the project was, and I ended up working on it a little bit more afterwards, you know, so that momentum got it going. So even just the consistency of 1 time a month, like on the calendar sort of thing, has been getting things done. So I'm dependent on consistency now, like these evenings here. I ate more lettuce from the garden. That's really all that's there. Well, we have spring onions too. So we had some of those in the fridge yet. So I had some onions, and on a salad, and I had the salad. I ate the rest of the salad. The rest of the first harvest of the salad, and then I went out and cut a whole pile more, and then it started to sprinkle. And I think it's supposed to rain quite a bit tonight. I thought it was going to rain, you know, more when I was out there, but just started sprinkling, and then I went in and it kind of stopped. It's fun doing the same project with yeah, so that's been kind of surprising for me, Lucy, just working on the same project as everyone else, because, you know, I don't know, I don't do a lot of that, or in the past I hadn't, I suppose, but it's so fascinating. I'm kind of in love with it now. So, like, especially with the Splendid Sampler, if you're planning on doing it, or even if you're not, and you want to just kind of see what's going on, go to the Facebook page for the Splendid Sampler and join the group there. Penguin. It's amazing, especially, you know, when a block is released. There'll be some people that get it done, like, you know, in 20 minutes or something, right, after it's released. But you'll start seeing that block filter in, like, as people finish it, because they're taking photos of it and putting it up, and, you know, for sure, go ahead and do that too if you want. And every single one is so different, like so obviously different, that it's just amazing. Like, it's just art. I feel like, you know, art is like when someone has an idea in their head and they like bring it to fruition, and like visually, that's how I feel like what art is. And that's what I see in every single one of these blocks that people make. Each one is totally different, just from the colors that they used, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, what technique they decided to use, if there was an option. And I don't know, it's just so cool. It's just really amazing how different the same block can be, you know? So that's I always love scrolling through the Facebook page once blocks are released. Ooh, your unicorn project's calling to you. That's gotta be a fun one to work on. No, I'm almost out of thread again. Got the word penguin done. Starting to end. Ooh, Ooh, Patricia, that sounds fun. I like walking around at garage sales. Lots of little treasures. In my brain, when I see a garage sale, always rummaging in the back of my head is, ooh, I wonder if there's a sewing machine here. Oh, that's horrible. I wonder if there's a sewing machine that they've undervalued and priced for like $2 or something. Yeah, or fabric, or, you know, some mystery sewing supply or something. Oh, that sounds nice, Lucy. I love cabin blocks. Those are, I think that's still like my favorite. That's what my my jean quilt is. That's an unfinished project yet. Let's weave this in right away. But hey, these I don't know, projects feel like they're getting done, even though I keep adding projects, but you know. I'm trusting the consistency and this Finish It Friday to help me resurrect projects and get them done. You know, we still have to quilt. We have to make a back for it yet too. I Love Home quilt. So that's a lingering quilt as well. Oh, they're your first log cabins. Awesome. They're just so pretty. They just feel classic and pretty, I think. Log cabin blocks. But yeah, we'll start working on these other projects before we finish up the I Love Home quilt. We're kind of saving that because I wanted to maybe do some fancy quilting on there, like echoing the little houses, or, you know, drawing other little pretty like hand-drawn free motion shenanigans on that quilt. So I need that's why I want to do the Charming Chevrons quilt first before we dig into that. I am just, Glennis, I'm just using white 6-strand embroidery floss. It's DMC white embroidery floss. I keep a little bin of all my scrap flosses, and I just grabbed it from there. It's scrap floss from my kits. Like sometimes the kits, it won't measure like quite enough floss, so I just, you know, all the like reject floss I put in a little bin. So I got lots of the colors that are in our kits. The only reason they're reject floss is that they're basically the end of the spool, and we didn't have quite enough inches for what we put in the kit. That's why I have them all like in these little circles like this. A lot of them, because that's how we have them in the kit. Penguin, and I think we'll scooch it over now. Let me start stitching. Just bring the needle to the top. Oh, sorry. No, I'm doing 3 strands. So I'm taking, it's 6-strand embroidery floss, and I am splitting the strands to 3 strands. And we did that a little earlier. You could see how I do that. I pull each strand out individually. That seems to be a really quick way to do it. And it makes the strands lie flatter and stuff. Penguin and Fish movies. Okay, I keep having to double check that this is written right, just because with the light that I'm using for the filming, sometimes it's going through the fabric and it's hard to read. Yeah, and then I just drew on the text with the Sew Line little pen that has the white chalk in. Oh, your grandson asked to teach him how to embroider. Oh, that is awesome. It's so much like coloring, I feel like. So yeah, just I'm using 3 strands. And I don't know, if you have one of my kits that has everything in to make that easier. I don't know, like, what kind of animal he might like. Most of my kits are animals, but I think the hedgehog is probably the easiest if he's just getting started. But yeah, or you can just, if you draw on a piece of fabric, that's what's kind of fun. He could draw his own design and then stitch that to just trace over it with colors. Oh, he's 21. Well, still, hedgehog is still probably the easiest one. You learned the pulling 1 strand of floss. Oh, for me. Oh, that's awesome, Carla. Yeah, it seems to help with the thread not getting kind of twirled up on itself, which is kind of what causes the knotting in embroidery. And it is fast versus, you know, the way I used to do it, where, you know, I'm just holding the 3 strands and just slowly pulling and hope it doesn't wind up on itself. Pulling out all the strands individually, it really, once you got it down, it's really fast. It seems odd because, you know, you're pulling each strand individually and then you got to put it back together, but it really does work. And don't try and do more than 1 strand if you're doing that technique of pulling the strands out, because that doesn't work so well. Then you'll start getting, it'll knot up and it won't want to come apart. But if you do them each individually, then it's good. Oh, perfect. That's, Lucy, that's what I totally do. I always got my embroidery project on the plane for sure. It travels so well. So just a tip, if you're traveling with embroidery and really any project like this, well, first of all, just, you know, have it in a container, even if it's just like a Ziploc bag where you can grab the whole project easily. But I always put an extra little teeny Ziploc bag, or just, it doesn't even have to be a Ziploc, but just like a little baggie for scraps, because, you know, you're going to clip little ends. You'll have like these little fellas hanging around. So if you have a little extra bag and that's like your little mini crafty trash bag, it comes in so handy when you're traveling. To teach, you'll use something simple. Awesome. I think he wants to make patches for his skateboarding. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he'll probably want to do like satin stitch or something to fill in shapes. That's how patches are kind of a lot of times. Penguin and Fish. I just got the H, and then we got movies to stitch yet. It's getting late already. Hopefully I can get through movies yet. Yeah, that'd be awesome to see his patches when he's done making them. It's just so weird stitching a big long web address. So, geez, we did this whole thing really today. I think we started on the, I don't know, the U or something. It's just so silly. Am I finding out that my geek glasses are working? I'm not sure. I am making an effort to do good, like, sleep habit type things. And you know what? I think I have been falling asleep a hair faster than usual. So, you know, I'm kind of taking the shotgun approach by, like, just trying a bunch of things all at once, including my nerd glasses. They're blue blocking. That's why I'm wearing them. So I don't have like all the LED light can keep you awake in the evenings. So, and my lights here are LEDs, and you know, cell phones have that blue LED light. It mimics sunlight, the blue light. So it's like tricking your brain that, oh, it's sunny out still. So it messes up your like circadian rhythm a little bit. So I don't know. I'm giving it a test. I think in general I kind of have been sleeping better. You know, I hate not knowing like for real what's working or not. So I kind of hate the whole shotgun approach to these sort of things, just because that's not how you run a proper experiment, right? You want your controls and then your variables, and you know, real life doesn't offer that very well. So I don't know, if you know, I'm sleeping better just because of the temperature, you know, temperature of the room, or if it's you know, if I'm ate something right or wrong in a day, or what, or, you know, if the glasses help or not. So who knows, but I am wearing them still, and I did sleep, I slept better last night. I am still really trying to get the 8 hours, which is crazy hard. If you're not used to like on purpose counting to make sure you get those 8 hours and still get up at your normal time. Like, I'm going to bed like way earlier than I have at any other point in my life, but I am really trying to get at least an 8 hour opportunity of sleeping. I don't necessarily sleep all 8 hours, but I'm like giving myself that opportunity. And yeah, so that, I think, today I woke up and I was just felt really awake and everything, and that's been like the first time for a while. So I'm thinking maybe that I've been doing it for a little while now. These 8 hours, I think that's starting to add up a little bit. So I'm hoping that's the case. I don't eat a whole lot of sugar. So, I mean, at one point, I think that probably could have been a thing. So I am sleeping way better than I was years ago, and I have cut out sugar and a lot of other things, although I still eat it every once in a while, like breads and that sort of thing. It's that's what the willpower has trouble with, is like bread and chips and that sort of grains and that sort of stuff. But in general, I'm sleeping better, and I think food might have had to do with it. But again, it's like this shotgun approach, so who really knows? But I'm trying to eat well, and I'm on really, like, the new thing for me is really making a big effort at those 8 hours, which does not come natural for me, really. So I'm really working at that. That's kind of the new thing I'm adding to the scenario, besides, trying to drink a lot of water and, eat well and have the temperature in the room right and these blue blocking glasses and blah, who knows what else. I don't use any dressing. I don't know. I'm not a big on sauces and stuff. Sometimes I'll put some olive oil on my salad, but that's about it really. So I don't use a lot of processed stuff, period. Like everything that I make is usually starting as like some whole vegetable or meat or something. So there's not a lot of like I don't have any added extra sugar really. Unless we splurge and then I'm getting bread from somewhere or like a burrito or whatever. So that's what I've been that's the trick. When I go off of that stuff, trying to cumulatively get better at that stuff. Yeah, I was never really a huge dressing fan. Actually, I was never really a huge salad fan. Like I hated getting salads at a restaurant. Like I don't know, I don't know. But now I just eat just a ton of salads, but they're huge. It's like I have a huge bowl and it's filled with greens, and then either we have like some meat that we cooked, so I'll put that on, or a pile of lentils and then a bunch of fruit and whatever. So all I try and do is have a bunch of stuff prepped in the fridge. So I'll cook a bunch of squash and I'll cook a bunch of lentils and beans, and we'll roast some meat and have lettuce and a bunch of fruit cut up. Everything. I like, ideally all of that is cooked and prepped and just sitting in the fridge in separate little containers, and then when I need to eat, I'll just throw them all together in some sort of salad thing. That's what I try and do, but then we get lazy in the evening because we're working all day, and then we're like, oh, let's just go get a pizza from the pizza place by us or something. So we're not always great. I'm trying to stick to that, but man, willpower goes away in the evening, that's for sure. But that's why I try and have as much as I can prepped in the fridge, because then that's the easiest route. Oh, fine, I'll just put all this stuff together on a plate, versus if there isn't anything prepped, then we like immediately want to go order something, which costs a ton of money and it's not as healthy. Oh, you're a rabbit. That's your go-to. Yeah, I never would have thought that, but now that's basically, the bulk of what I eat is just, a bunch of roasted vegetables on a salad with, some sort of meat or lentils or something on there. And I have that for breakfast and, all the time. Sometimes I'll make soup and I'll have a whole vat of soup in there, and then I'll be eating that for a while. So that's kind of my deal. I'm trying to still figure that out. That's why I bought that cookbook, because I want to get better at putting flavors and stuff together, and just have some variance from just my roasted vegetables in the fridge, because that's, I think, one of the reasons we want to eat out all the time in the evenings is just because we're bored with what's in there and stuff, and we just need to sit down and cook more. So that's what we're trying to do too, but that takes willpower to working at it. It's always working at it, right? All right, guys, that is the web address. So, and I'm almost out of floss. I'll have to go grab some more. But I did want to, so here we go. YouTube.com/penguinandfishmovies. It is just too silly. Makes me laugh that I stitched a web address, and that's just this long thing of text. But I do still want to put in the project, the Splendid Sampler quilt along. Maybe I'll get rid of live sewing, but project, the Splendid Sampler quilt along, which is actually quite a bit of text yet. So I don't know, maybe I'll work on that this weekend a little, or I don't know, we'll see. we have tomorrow yet too, I suppose. So yeah, so I'll write that all out, or start writing it out. We have this much of this fabric left here. I know for sure that this will fit on at least one edge of the quilt because we cut it off of an edge of the quilt. So I'm not concerned that this piece will be too long. It's so silly. So here we go. Here's the whole thing so far. Alyssa Thomas, start February 2016, complete June 2018. That means I have to actually finish it in June now, so we got to get this label done. Minneapolis, Minnesota. So yeah, maybe I will work on it this weekend. And then http youtube.com/penguinfishmovies. So that's, I'm tempted to just only have that, but then that's not the whole idea. You need to know the project once you're on the page to find the diary of it all. So anyway, all right guys, I'm going to flip you around and we'll call it an evening. Yep, so here are the before mentioned geek glasses. They're just so cute, I think. They got these fun little weird sides to them, and they're just huge. I kind of love them. And they sit so funny on the face, you know, like some 80s glasses, so I like them. But yeah, these are with the blue blocking light. You can actually kind of tell. You can see it kind of shows up blue a little bit. So it's blocking the blue. So everything is, in theory, tinged a little yellow, but it's really kind of difficult to tell. So giving them a go. You can see all the reflections, so sometimes I just try and tilt them down, which makes them look even more nerdy, I think. But anyway, all right, guys, I will get this up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies, and just like how we stitched, and then I'll be back here tomorrow. So second Friday of the month. Last week was Finish It Friday. But yeah, so I think we'll stitch this a little bit more. I am a little tempted to put the binding on the Charming Chevrons quilt before we start quilting, because technically we do have it all quilt with the zigzags, and I kind of want to just finish the binding because we're going to just wrap around that binding and then just bind it before we quilt it. Then it's kind of finished and we're just adding extra quilting. So we might be doing a little bit of that tomorrow, at least prepping it for that, just because, I don't know, it's on my brain that I really want to do that. So we might give that a go, and then we'll see how we do that wraparound binding as well before we start quilting. So I don't know, I've never done that before, finish the binding before the quilt, but before the quilting of it, but we might give it a try. So anyway, that'll be tomorrow. Have a great evening, and I'll see you then. Good night.